So this previewed in America today, Sikandar, and maybe I'm a little confused about the story and maybe the actor itself. So let's just jump in and discuss it. Chase Liaki here with the Blue Futon reviewing Sikandar. So what's about? Pretty simple premise. Even if you read it on IMDb or Google, it's not the real synopsis, right? Because this whole story is about this guy, Sikandar. He's like a king, or if you want to call it, just like he rules this part of a country. They say country in this movie. I don't know if the dialogue or the subtitles were wrong, but I'm going to call it more of a region, right? And he owns like 25% of India's gold, and he is just basically the perfect leader, right? He has a perfect wife, but people, of course, want to kill him. However, something horrific happens to his wife, and because she's an organ donor, there's multiple people in Mumbai that need her eyes, lungs, heart, etc. But there's a prime minister, his son's a dick, and something happens to him by him, the king of this area, and of course, shenanigans ensues in the second act, because the first act is more of getting to know these characters and this region and, kind of going to Mumbai, but then the second act starts and you're basically in Mumbai. Okay, so people are saying this is what am I trying to say? This is a comeback for the main actor, right? This is where I'm getting kind of confused because he was in Tiger 3. I just saw Tiger 3 2 years ago in the States in a movie theater. So if someone can help me why they're calling this a comeback role for him when he's been in multiple movies through and throughout. So, again, maybe I just don't know the cultural relevance of where he's been or what happened in India entertainment, but that is where I'm a little bit confused. The movie itself, I felt like it was a little bit all over the place with some of the action set pieces, the story, and what we were actually trying to focus on, right? Because there are a lot of characters in this movie, and there's a lot of subplots of, him faking being a doctor to get in with his family for women. There's a subplot about, like I said, the organ donations. There's a subplot about the prime minister, the prime minister's son, this cop, this kid in the street with his lungs. There's a girl with the heart. And I understand how it wants to connect at the end, but there's just levels of this movie where it's like it could have been written a little bit better, and it could have been more focused on specific storylines. So, like I said, I did not mind getting to know this guy, getting to know his wife, and understanding the organ plant as part. I really did dig that. I felt like focusing on that works, and maybe having a little bit better motive for the prime minister and making it a little bit more sinister, right? Because there is some sinisterness of the prime minister wanting to go after the people with the organs because, quote unquote, she's still alive in the people that have her organs, and you're like, yes. That is something that's kind of ingenious that you could flesh out on and make it a little bit more graphic, but they didn't want to do that. They wanted to make this, I want to say a little bit more family friendly, but it felt that way. Yes, there is a car chase sequence that is filmed pretty damn good, and something happens in that car, but at a point, you're just like, your son's an ass. You're making your son an ass. You're always covering your son for doing horrible stuff, especially in the plane, and that's how it comes into fruition of how these storylines kind of mesh, which is fine. But then we want to add this cop storyline that's trying to get, him arrested. But the only reason why we have a storyline with him is because the prime minister is paying him. But I just felt like that was a very, very weak storyline to put in it. Or always have something more fleshed out about, because you do bring the cop's family into it for a little bit, but we don't flesh it out. It's just there to kind of add something to a subplot, and it's really disappointing. There's also other subplots of trying to get people to say that he did a bombing, but there is no real reasoning, or the evidence they have is just so fake that it just makes all cops in this movie either incompetent or corrupt, or they're just part of a payroll of a politician. And that's really bothered me, where it's like, I feel like there's got to be at least one or two cops be like, there's no way he could have done that bombing. He wasn't even in that location. You see what I'm getting at? Well, he was in that location, but you know what I mean. There was other people in that area, and there's just way too many other witnesses to be like, nah. There's no way that could actually occur. And when there were action set pieces, like I said, some of them were fun, especially the car chase in the center, as well as something happens at the very end where chains in a car. It's really fun to watch and some cool things. But also there's a very beginning one where I was like, if the movie's going to be like this, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. Because like a tire scene where you're just like, okay, that tire's like 80 pounds. There's no way you're just kicking it up like it's a freaking 5-pound thing. Like, impossible. That is a flipping tire that you do on the ranch. You know what I'm getting at. So yes, this story, while I think there are some fun elements and interesting elements that I haven't seen before, unfortunately, I think they throw it away, though, and make this movie a little bit too safe when dealing with that element. So overall, Sikandar, yes, it might have some interesting originality to it and some good action set pieces, but I feel like the movie dragged out for way too long. Some of the action set pieces weren't that good. There was a rap song that really took me out of the movie. Did not work whatsoever. There was one okay song in the beginning. Nothing fancy in this movie where I was like, oh, something's really, really, really catchy. Nothing like that did occur. And like I said, the story. If they just tighten it up and focused on a specific storyline, it would have been a way better movie, just in my opinion. But this just could be a Westerner's white boy's opinion. Am I wrong? Let me know. So Sikandar will receive a 2.5 out of 5 Futons, which equals at 50%. So see the critics and user scores gave this one. So you have nothing for the tomato meter, nothing for the critics. For the audience, we have a 1 out of 5, a 5 out of 5, a 5 out of 5, a 5, a 3 out of 5, a 5 out of 5. So the guy that gave it a 1, though, he just says, no story, no good dialogue, screenplay was very weak, boring, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I kind of have to admit, it is kind of very weak on that level. So 50%. Chase like here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One more thing is Bhutontopia. You Blue Futonians. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. I don't care watch this tape tomorrow, week from a month, or a year from now. Every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And let me know if I'm right or wrong or just in the middle.